Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen patch notes for the full 3.0 live build, which is now available to everyone that has a game package. This is quite a big dump of info, and I've removed the irrelevant bits. If you're looking for how to install and play 3.0, please check the quick start guide linked below. There are many new features present in 3.0 as first implementations, and they still have numerous adjustments and tweaks to be made to bring them up to the full design specifications. Many optimizations are still incoming, and performance isn't up to their standard. With so many new systems coming online, there are likely to be numerous bugs left to smash and balance changes to hammer out. And they want people to be part of the open development and report issues and bugs that you encounter on the issue council. There are some major known issues with 3.0. The persistent player location respawn is currently only working if the player returns to the same instance. This is bed logging, and obviously not the intended final functionality. The combat visor is an early Spartan prototype that is meant to give players core functionality. There's still work remaining on that as well. So new features, breathing, stamina and heart rate are all now in and monitored via your helmet HUD and mobiGlas. If you're in space or on a moon, you will need to wear a flight suit or sealed armor with a helmet. This allows you to make use of an oxygen supply, which if it runs out, you will asphyxiate and die. Your oxygen supply will refill itself at any appropriate outposts, ships or points of interest that have a breathable atmosphere. Running, jumping, crouching, vaulting all use stamina. As you exert yourself, you will use stamina, and this will also increase your heart rate. If you don't have enough stamina to perform a task, you will not be able to do it, so this can stop you running or jumping. It will also affect your aim as you breathe more heavily and your vision as well, and potentially you can pass out. The more you breathe, the quicker your oxygen supply will run out as well. There's now a wound system as well, so injury is now taken into account for status effects to a small degree, including movement penalties for limb damage. The interaction mode. Holding down the F key will activate interaction mode. A contextual cursor will appear in the centre of the screen. Interaction points will be highlighted, even from a distance. Left click to perform the selected task, right click to focus and zoom. They've added the foundation of a new hint system, which will allow players to learn about how to play the game whilst playing it and reduce the burden of having to consult offline resources. Party launch system. They've added a new command, /party launch. If the party leader enters /party launch into the chat window in game, this will send a notification to each party member when the leader enters an instance so that they can accept or ignore that. If accepted, they will be put into the matchmaking system to join the leader. If the server doesn't have enough space for the full party, all players in a party will be put back into matchmaking to find another server. If not in a server, when the party leader launches into a new server, a party launch will automatically be generated for everyone. Some balance changes. For ships, the boost and afterburner are more additive rather than multiplicative. Quantum fuel tanks and consumption have been updated for new planetary distances. Shield regen now has a setback value that varies regen based on incoming damage. They've completely reworked armor. All ships now have armor to varying degrees, with more combat-focused ships having thicker armor and greater damage reduction. Armor now reduces incoming energy damage more than physical damage. They've adjusted the shield and ship health values. All ships have had their velocities, both linear and angular, increased. Hydrogen fuel consumptions and regeneration have been reworked. EMPs no longer affect the source ship. With FPS, they've increased hip-fire recoil. Damage and spread balances across all weapons have been done. They've reduced procedural breathing sways in aim-down sights. They've added damage reduction components to armor items. They've increased damage reduction of medium and heavy armors. They've increased movement speed differences between light and medium armors. Some bugs and issues and workarounds. Some ships may be spawning without items or the ability to be flight readied. If that happens, you have to file an insurance claim on the ship. Various actions can cause the player to holster their weapons, medipen, sprinting, vaulting. Changing loadouts on the Star Marine menu often doesn't work. Score does not remain constant in Star Marine if you leave and rejoin. AI often fly out of bounds in Arena Commander. Close proximity ship-to-ship passes cause a large FPS stutter. Game mode and map images are not scaled correctly on the Arena Commander menu. Pickups are inconsistent in Arena Commander. The chat box regularly goes away due to various actions, interacting with some objects, switching to third-person camera, etc. You can consistently bring back the chat window using the F12 key, though. The IFCS has some control error under ship acceleration. ESP isn't functioning correctly, especially in lower frame rates. Universe updates. Planetary surfaces. They've implemented the first fully modelled explorable planetary surfaces. These include 3 three moons, Yela, Daymar and Selin, as well as the mining planetoid Delamar. Each planetary body has a unique atmospheric composition, as well as pressure and gravity, and a variety of surface outposts and derelict ships to explore, many tied to the new mission system. Planetary motion, so planetary bodies now have rotational motion completed with dynamic day and night cycles. Planetary surfaces are dotted with the surface outposts representing a variety of organisations and functions. Each outpost is unique and has its own power system, oxygen supply, many with usable kiosks and landing pads with associated ASOP terminals. Persistence, your character and ship's persistent state is now being updated every few minutes and on logout. After death, you'll respawn in the station you last visited. Visiting is determined by proximity. Additionally, players can now log out using ship's beds. Entering a ship's bed will present the player with a logout option that, if used, will persist the ship and player's location. Upon return, the player will wake up in their ship bed with their ship in the location of their logout. The ATC, or Air Traffic Control System, landing and takeoff at larger public facilities, is now controlled by the ATC, and it acts as a connection between you and the landing tower using the MFD comms function in every ship or on your mobiGlas. When attempting to land, you will open up the communication channel to the tower and ask for permission to land. The tower then checks all the requirements being fulfilled and will advise you appropriately to hail the ATC, cycle one of your ship's MFDs to comms, and then select the hail symbol for the desired port. Some new locations. Levski is the base built directly into the rock of the asteroid Delamar. The base was originally an active mining facility, but it's being left derelict for a number of years. New residents have moved in, and it's become a hotbed for political radicals and criminals. The main areas are controlled by various political groups with a strong anti-UEE sentiment, and they try to keep order best they can. Levski has a choice of numerous shops spread across multiple floors, with many missions available. You can access Levski by foot, ship, or ground vehicle. Some shops as well. New items, clothing, weapons, and components have been added to ships' inventories, and they've added the Dumpers Depot shop to major locations where you can purchase components. AI subsumption. They've introduced the basics of subsumption. You should now see NPCs going about their daily lives at all three major landing zones, Grimhex, Port Olisar, and Levski. The turret system, so they've updated turrets. Turrets have been updated with the additional of targeting dead zones, movement ranges that prevent you shooting your own ship, and updated UIs as well, and staggered firing modes available. They're significantly better than they used to be. Automated turrets. You'll find automated turrets defending Port Olisar, Security Post Korea, and various comrays. These turrets will actively engage and fire at wanted criminals. Kiosks. So they've introduced shop kiosks. The main variants of kiosks will be used for buying and selling commodities or cargo. The intention is that you will have separate inventories at each station and major landing zone. Kiosks will only be able to interact with items that are in the local shop's location. The kiosk will be able to interrogate and manipulate any cargo loadout or the inventory of these local elements. By default, the kiosk will show everything you have access to in that location, but will be able to drill down to facilitate any specific ship cargo manifest. Locations have variable commodity pricing that will fluctuate over time based on stock levels and restock rates, so you'll be able to find different trade paths, different places to make some money, and that will dynamically change. At the moment, this only affects cargo purchased at kiosks, and is only present at major spawn locations, Levski, Grimhex, and Port Olisar. The afterburner. There is now a single afterburner with the ability to achieve higher top velocity under certain conditions, giving you a afterburner for SCM and an afterburner for cruise, with the only distinction being two different speeds. You can enter afterburner cruise if your flight path is straight, in basically a forward line. Otherwise, you're limited to the SCM afterburner. So that will allow you to maneuver and strafe while using it. Once in cruise, you can release the afterburner key, and effectively you'll be able to maintain your current speed without using any more afterburner fuel. The new quantum travel system. So quantum travel destinations are now selected via the mobiGlas star map app or via the 3D radar star map on appropriate ships. Whether or not an object can be targeted for quantum travel is determined by the drive's detection range and is based on gravitational values. The larger the object, the further away you can detect it, and the large objects with small objects in orbit drown out their detection capabilities at long ranges. This means you will not be able to travel from points A to B at all times, but instead may need to move into the orbit of a larger body to detect destinations also in orbit. For example, to get to a station orbiting a moon that orbits a planet, the route may be Planet Moon Station. There's now a short-range quantum travel speed variant for moving around orbital points of moons and small planetary bodies. This is OM markers. Quantum travel speeds, spooling times, and cooldown times are variable based on the size and quality of the drive. The mission system. So the mission system has been revamped with new missions, mission givers, and greater variety. Missions have various variants and types, including lawful and unlawful ones, and many can be done in cooperation with other players. Some variants will require the player to gain a certain kind of reputation, which in itself can be earned by doing different types of missions or by your actions within the verse. So they are delivery, deploy, recovery, AI bounty hunting, AI assassination, collection, waste disposal, patrol, derelict investigations, escort, and the mission giver missions, which are a little bit more bespoke, with Ruto and Eckhart. The interdiction and environmental missions. AI now have the capability to interdict or quantum disrupt players during quantum travel, forcing them to drop out of their quantum drive. In addition, there are random environmental encounters scattered throughout the verse. Doors and airlocks, so they've been updated with additional functionality. They've introduced basic ship security, including the ability to lock and unlock your ship's outer doors. The first introduction of Item 2.0 for all ships is in, including the following: power, which includes the ability to control how much power is generated by the power plants and it distributed to all other systems in the ship. Heat, including the ability to monitor how much heat, EM, and IR the ship is generating, and the ability to temporarily reduce IR. Shields, including the ability to monitor and adjust shield strength and repair behavior, along with the ability to adjust usage and performance with power. Screen switch behavior, including the ability to switch between various screens on the same physical monitor to allow MFD customization. The early implementation of a combat visor, which shows target and self status screens, is also in. They've introduced the first implementation of cargo and commodities. Some items are transported in small portable boxes, which can be bought and sold at vendors. These items are placed in and around Stanton's system's wreckage and procedurally on planet surfaces. They will be generated when destroying cargo-carrying ships as well. The 0.5 meter boxes can be lifted and moved around using the existing hand lifting and carrying system. One SCU cargo cannot be lifted or moved. Storing small items in the cargo container grid. So ships will have cargo grids set up inside that governs how cargo is placed and secured within it. Placing 0.5 meter boxes within the cargo grid will be considered secured in ship. 0.5 meter boxes will align within the cargo grid. Any loose items placed on the grid will not align to this. Loose items placed on the cargo grid will be added to the ship's manifest. Items placed outside of the grid will therefore not be added to the ship's manifest. Items can be taken from one ship's hold and carried to another ship and stored in its hold instead. Buying and selling cargo through market vendors. One SCU crate full of a single commodity can be bought and sold at vendors. 0.5 meter boxes the player discovers or recovers can be sold at vendors as well. Commodities can be bought at vendors and selected spots. Players will walk up to the kiosk and use it to initiate an interaction. Only the stock the vendor buys and sells will be listed and the price they want for each. You can select any ship you own with cargo carrying capabilities as the destination. Transactions take place entirely in this interface. So with Star Marine, they've added the heavy outlaw slaver armor and the heavy marine armor. Oxygen capsules have been added, which can temporarily refill your oxygen supply, and they've added the bearing P8 SC SMG. Vehicles and ships, they've added hit reactions, they've added damage and emergency interior states, they've added additional interior and exterior lighting states and warning lights. They've also added compressed and or springs to many of the ship's landing gears. Hydrogen fuel is now required for normal ship operation. Running out will result in loss of engine power. There are some new ships and vehicles as well. The Constellation Aquila, the Prospector, the Nox, the Dragonfly, the Saber Raven, and the Urza Rover. They've also added the Quarreler laser cannon, which is a size 3 weapon. The Gravlev system for bikes, which is the Nox and Dragonfly use. Shield emitters, coolers, and power plants have returned with new functionality. The quantum drive is now a customizable component too. With first-person animations, they've greatly expanded the number of usable items, benches, stools, etc. that can be interacted with by both players and NPCs. And there's new clothing and clothing variants that have been added too. With armor now consists of modular pieces that can be equipped, interchanged, and purchased as separate pieces. There are several new armor sets that can be found at various shops throughout the verse. They've added the Apocalypse Arms railgun, the Bearing P8SC, and the Custodian SMG as well. There's a new mobiGlas interface, so the Personal Manager app, or the PMA, allows you to select individual areas of clothing, armor, and items to change, add, or remove from your player. The Star Map app is the primary tool for navigation and destination planning. You will be able to navigate the various rings in your local system, which display the orbital rotations of areas to explore. You can use the right mouse button to move the star map around, and the left to select an area, and use mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and double click on planets to zoom to them, and then select the object you want to travel to by set destination, and that will plot a quantum drive marker that you can move to and hold down B to quantum travel to. The Contract Manager app, you can use this app to check available missions, to track and untrack accepted missions, and view your mission history. And the Com app, which you can use to bring up to request a landing at a particular point of interest, such as Port Olisar, Levski, and Grimhex. The Ship HUD and MFDs. So the new ship MFDs feature RTT, or render to texture, with multiple selectable MFDs per screen. You now have the ability to view and adjust shields, power, heat, comms, all by holding F and interacting with the MFD. And there's some new functions here as well. Heat IR suppression, so if you press that button, it toggles the suppressing of your IR signal multiplier, which temporarily reduces your IR signature at the cost of all your other items heating rapidly. Stealth, so this button with the power MFD allows you to effectively throttle your stealth value. Shields now have face priorities working properly, and face hardening, so if you drag the pip towards a face, it moves priority towards that face, increasing the priority at which that shield is repaired when damaged, and also redistributes health towards it when the shields are healthy. Face hardening gives a particular face an extra resistance, allowing you to brace for damage to a particular area of your shield. The standby button here also turns off the shields temporarily to allow you to repair it more quickly at the cost of not having the shields on while this is happening. Some other additions: they've added FOV scale to the menu, they've added some new low ammo, ship weapon, and ship engine audio. There's new VFX for fog, debris motion, quantum travel, ship destruction, ship trails, VFX, and some new layered ship weapon impacts. For optimizations, they've added additional serialization and improved emitter update performance, but lots more are to follow. Some future updates: they've updated color grade for Crusader, they've added ship selector screens with additional ship specific information to the ASOP terminals, they've added some additional magazines, grenades, and utility items to the Cubby Blast shop, they've added new armors and weapons to the Guaranteed Event shop, and added new clothing to various stores. The crime stats, so they've split wanted and criminality reputations. Only players at wanted level 3 should appear hostile. If a criminal is killed by security, they lose their wanted levels. At Grimhex, they've added some props, updated art assets, and moved the ASOP terminals to the main railing. The Drake Cutlass Black and the RSI Aurora series have had a complete rework. The Aegis Avenger has had an updated dashboard and updated beds with new functionality, but is also getting a rework as well. It's going to be much bigger. This is because of Squadron 42's needs. The Vanguard, Sabre, and Gladius have had cockpit reworks. The Anvil Gladiator has separated art for the pilot and co-pilot geometry, as well as a rework entry and exit animation set. The Drake Herald has a rescaled self-destruct timer to allow you to actually escape the ship, and they've updated beds with the new functionality on the Herald as well. The Vandal series, the Merlin, and the Reliant have had updated lighting. The Drake Caterpillar has added the airlock hole for an EVA hatch. They've updated beds with the new functionality as well with the Caterpillar. Ship weapons, so they've updated animations, and the Knightsbridge Arms, Klaus and Werner repeater series have had a complete rework as well. Star Marine armors. So armor and equipment weight now alters run speed and stamina drain. Light to medium and heavy armor pieces reduced damage and have been balanced. There have been tweaks and balance changes across all weapons. For Arena Commander, they've done a scoring rework as well. They've updated the first-person animations for jumping and pistols. The gear, so equipment weight now influences an actor's state and run speed, as I said. They've done a complete rework of art for the Devastator 12 shotgun, the Arrowhead sniper rifle, the Arclight pistol, the P4 AR assault rifle, the Gallant, and the Gemini L86. Persistent Universe servers have had their player cap increased to 50. They've reskinned the contacts page. There's also been a big rebinding of keys and controls. They've tweaked controls for turrets and improved the experience. They've added joystick mappings for EVA and FPS, as well as for interaction mode, and gamepad mappings for interaction mode 2, and they've added ADS or aim down sight zoom in for the gamepad. There's been exposure and specular graphical improvements, some fixes, so they fixed the LOD issues on Olisar, the delayed missing music in Crusader, missing purchasable items from ArcCorp, they've added proper collision to Grimhex shop windows, they fixed an issue when spawning a freelancer in front of a scythe would cause them to collide, they fixed missing collision in the aero view hangar as well, the suspension should now work on vehicles correctly, and they fixed some audio feedback issues. EMP charges no longer have a chance to kill players. The Car2Al had corrected several of its backward or missing decals. The Gladiator has fixed exterior lighting. The Mustang series has corrected several backwards or missing decals again, and fixed cracked glass appearance on the cockpit from a distance. The Caterpillar has had a fix with its shadow flickering in the cockpit. The 300 series has corrected again several backward or missing decals and fixed some clipping geometry and some texture normals. The Vanguard Hoplite has had a bug fixed with its destruction VFX. They've fixed some Vandal collision issues with the Scythe and Glathe's landing gear. Starfarer no longer T-poses the player when entering or exiting the turret. The Constellation series, they've reduced the interaction point size of ladders. They also resolved missing or quiet audio for flyby, and the nose of the Constellation should now properly take damage. Players should no longer gain a wanted level for destroying hostile ships. They fixed some issues with grenade markers and players being momentarily in an aim pose during jumping. Projectiles should now spawn in the correct zones. They fixed an issue where players could use a Medipen without reducing supply or without the HUD updating. They fixed level of detail issues on the Dying Star central spire and landing pads. There's been visual cleanups for Star Marine. They've cleaned up issues with player lighting and fixed issues where players were all marked as hostile for a spectator. Players no longer slide into a hacking animation when interacting with terminals from side or back. They've removed the grenade damage through a barrier into spawn room issue. They fixed issues where players would be unable to join friends if they were in different regions or had different regions selected. They fixed an issue where if both players add each other to contacts, they both appear as permanently offline. They fixed an issue where loading into the universe would present no destinations after finishing a match of Arena Commander, and they've also fixed an issue where input recognition would fail when overlapping inputs. And that's it. Woo! Please check out my videos on the quick start guide to 3.0, and I've got various guides for performance, as performance is going to be a thing with 3.0 that we need to improve as best we can, as well as wait for CIG to do various hotfixes. They are moving over to quarter release, which means we will see a major patch, so 3.1, in around 3 months' time, is the idea, but we will also see hotfixes and mini updates and optimizations appearing because we have that new Delta patcher with 3.0 as well. They can deploy those hotfix patches and optimizations and stuff very quickly and easily as and when they get them. So please expect there to be lots and lots of updates to 3.0 to make it a bit better of a live build as we go forward, and that's going to be starting probably from the 8th of January when Star Citizen peoples are all back from their holidays. Every month we have a giveaway for a ship. For December, it's the Orion mining vessel donated by our featured org, Self-Made, an organisation looking at all types of gameplay with a lawful neutral stance and kind of a focus on developing your character as an individual in the universe and not being a dick to others. Links below if you're interested in joining them. They are active for 3.0 3.0. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that Orion, though, is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and then comment on any of my Star Citizen videos during that particular month. Do you have any questions about Alpha 3.0, about the patch notes, or anything else about Star Citizen's development in general? Just chuck them in the comments below. A special thank you to my Patreons who allow me to create the amount of content I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, you can find the links to Patreon down below as well as everything else we talked about. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help me, and I'll see you in the verse.